Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant and welcome to Elite Dangerous Horizons. Today I'm taking a look at some of the most interesting places I've actually so far discovered for planetary landings. There's a whole lot of locations to land in within this galaxy. Many of them have very similar features, so I thought I'd pick out a few of my favourites to give you some clues and some places to go check out for yourself. This right here is Betelgeuse, one of the largest stars near inhabited space within the galaxy. And this planet here is located around about 2,500 perhaps light seconds away from the star, and that gives you an indication of just how massive it is. Now if you get around the sunny side of this planet, your ship is likely to start overheating. It's literally that close. Driving along the surface here in an SRV really is quite an experience, especially if you do it in VR. The massive star just hangs out forever on the horizon there, truly immense. Of course, there's still the usual points of interest around here, but that really isn't what we're interested in. Here, we're looking for some wonderful locations to stop off at. And just one more look at Betelgeuse then before we move on. Here again, we're over 3,000 light seconds away from that gigantic star. Now this planetoid was very unusual. It's in the Pleiades section, just a few light years away from the new station. It has what's probably a graphical glitch on here, but nonetheless it's something that stands out. There's a crater with huge walls here. These walls are just shy of 4 kilometers high, but inside the crater there's a steep vertical drop down to the bottom there. That bottom is around about 15 kilometers from the top of the wall, and here near the bottom of the crater we can look up and see the star peeking over. Planetoids make for some of the most interesting locations in terms of surface content, so we'll be having a look at some more of them a little bit later in the video. But first I want to take a look at a few nebula. This is a California nebula, quite a distance away from inhabited space, and so far the furthest one I've actually looked at since Horizons was released. Perhaps not the most interesting nebula, but there really are some stunning colours here, and some rather nice looking planets too, as you could see on the approach to this one. Now, if you don't fancy travelling all the way out to the California nebula, there is a nebula much closer to home. This is the Pleiades, and you've seen it previously in one of my more recent videos. The system here is Maya, but there's also a bunch of very other nice systems around this area. Be sure to check them all out. The star cluster here is actually known as the Seven Sisters, so you can actually go and visit each one of those. Once you're at the Pleiades, Barnard's Loop isn't too much further, around about 1,000 light years or so. On this location I was actually right near the Horsehead Nebula. You can see it just hanging there in the distance, and again I actually made a video from this location early on in the beta release of the game. In fact, this is one of my favourite nebula locations so far, largely due to the fact that the ambient light from the nebula doesn't have much effect on the surface of the planet here. Although the planet is still gorgeously lit by the local star, and you can see the lovely shadows that it actually creates here. And all the while you're in Barnard's Loop, you'll have the constant companionship of one nebula or another. So earlier on in the video I was talking about planetoids. Here this turned out to be quite a surprise, seeing two of them orbiting so close to each other. Now one of the things I really do like about planetoids is that they usually have very nice surface features. Deep canyons, large craters, and sometimes some really high detailed areas, just like this canyon here. Now one of the things that makes this location really worth the visit is that its orbiting twin really is close by, and it almost literally is a twin, very much the same sort of style, very much the same sort of surface features. Looking over at the planet in the distance there, it's nice to think that the craters you can see from a distance are the same craters that you can actually fly to and then drive around in. This was by far one of the most interesting planetoids I've actually found, and even more the fun if you can actually come here and wing up with somebody. Talking of my favourite locations then, this is Ariel. It's a moon of Uranus. Unfortunately, you're going to need a soul permit in order to get here. But if you do get a soul permit, or if you have got one, this area is definitely one of the best in the game that I've so far visited. Such is the variation of the surface content on this moon that you could easily spend a good number of play sessions here. This section of the moon has some very unusual features here. Firstly, it's full of this really thick gas, and secondly, it looks like it's almost got a very sandy surface. But what really sticks out the most are these really sharp peaks and mountains here. something that so far I haven't actually seen anywhere else yet in the game. These sort of places do seem to be so elusive, so much so in fact that I've seen people mention on forums that it's a shame that there's no high peaks or vertical mountains in the game. But I can tell you they are indeed here, and if you come to Ariel you're going to find plenty of them. Now also on Ariel are a number of high ridges. I can't quite remember how high these ones are, but they're easily a few kilometres, and they're wide enough that you can settle down your ship on top of the surface and then drive around on top of it with your SRV. You'll probably remember this particular clip from my tour of the Sol System video, and if you do go watch that video you can see me take a base jump off of it here in my vehicle. Ariel also happens to have some very deep canyons in it, very narrow ones too, and they are actually a real pleasure to go and fly into. So then, there are a few locations for you to visit, some of the best areas I've actually found so far in the game, and of course I'll keep you up to date in future when I come across any others. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time. Today we're going to go take a look at the Sol System, the home of Earth. Here I am then in M. Gorbachev, one of the space stations orbiting our planet. I'm in my Cobra because I thought that'd make a nice change to head out and explore in. This is Mercury, the closest planet to our sun and one of the hottest. Clearly at this point in our future we've overcome that problem as we have large settlements there. This is Erlich City, the largest settlement on Mercury, and it is indeed a massive place. It probably makes sense that there's a large city here on Mercury because obviously this planet is the first port of call for any travellers that arrive here in this system.